Thank you for joining us today. We'll be discussing the new text editor, also known as the CKEditor, and talking a little bit about what it is, where you can see it, and what you can do with it. So what is it? The CKEditor is a standard set of tools that allows admin to format text, add links and email addresses, and add images, files, and tables. So basically this just means no more HTML coding when you want to create your language for your applicants. What will it look like? Many of you have probably seen this tool in several other programs that you use across the web, but it's basically going to be this host of icons that you might see at the top of text fields. On the admin side, you're going to see this CKEditor available on the home agency message, on the navigation editor when you're creating new pages, on the program cycle subtab when you're creating the program description and the message about the program, also when you're creating your submission and confirmation text, and then lastly you'll see it on the application pages when you've added a new page and you want to add your info instructional text, as well as your question fields where you create that question that the applicant views. What can be done with it? Simple functionality that many of you are probably familiar with: bolding, italicized, underlined. You can add numbered and bulleted lists. You can change the size and color of your text, and you can of course cut, copy, and paste from other places on your computer. Some more advanced functionality includes adding images either from your computer or from the internet, adding tables, and of course adding links to things on the internet or to files saved in your repository or your server for your agency. You can also add a table of contents using the link tool. So now that we've discussed some of the functionality we might see, let's go ahead and create a page using some of these tools. On the left-hand side, you can see the admin portal, and on the right-hand side, we can see our applicant portal. This is our home page that our applicants see when they go to dss.gosmart.org. And this is a demo site for a made-up organization called Denver Arts. But if I'm an applicant for Denver Arts, this is the first thing I'm going to see. And you'll see right away some great examples of what we can do with the CKEditor. You can increase the text size and add color. You can add links. You can add imagery and justify them on different sides of the page. You can also add imagery with links. So if you wanted to give your applicant a very quick way to log in or register, you can add buttons such as these. And again, all of this can be done while keeping in mind your own branding so that you can really make this site appear as though it's part of your existing website. So as I said, we'll create a new page using some of our tools, and we'll see what it's going to look like to the applicant. So on our admin side, we'll navigate to the front-end manager and the navigation editor, and we'll add a new web page. Let's call this CKEditor example. And we'll see right away that we've got our host of editing icons up at the top. Now I'm going to grab some dummy text from just a general website. You, of course, will have your own language that you can either copy from another item if you already have it created in a Word document or a Google Sheet, or you can, of course, create it right in the text field on the fly, just like that, and then use the CKEditor to format that information. Now, when you go to paste something that you've copied from somewhere else, you have a couple options. You can, of course, Control-V or right-click paste, whatever you do with your computer. Or if you've copied something from a Word document and you do already have some formatting, you could use this last icon where you're going to paste from Word and then copy it in here. Now, because I grabbed some text from a non-Word document, my formatting is still not going to follow because it's not Word formatting. But if I created this in a Word document and had added any of these items, bold, underline, bullets, things like that, all that would follow. If I copied from somewhere and I do not want to copy any of the formatting, I might rather opt to click this paste as plain text. Then you'll see it's scrubbed of any kind of formatting, and I can sort of start fresh. So now I'm ready to start formatting some of my language. Right away, we'll look at our really basic tools: bolding, italicizing, underlining. Maybe we'll add something like a table of contents. And we'll finish it up later, but I just want to show you another way, rather than bolding, italicizing, and underlining, how I might make this pop a bit. I can make it smaller or larger. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And let's make it a brighter color. And I'm going to go ahead and save this and refresh on my applicant side. Now I see that I have a new navigation page, and I can start to see some of my formatting come together. And you'll note right away that you'll get a pretty great preview on this side, so you don't have to be looking on the applicant portal to see your work, but it is helpful sometimes when you're completely done to pop over here and just get a great sense of what you've created. All right, moving down the line with some of our tools, let's go ahead and add an image. So we'll click our fourth icon, which is this image icon, and it will open our image properties window. We can add an image a couple different ways. The most common way is going to be uploading an image from your computer and adding it to your server. And when we say server, with regards to the CKEditor, you can sort of think of it as your own agency's repository, where you can house all of the images and files that you'll need throughout the life of your GoSmart site. So what you'll do is you'll click Browse Server. That will open a new window for your repository or your server. All of these items are images that we have already uploaded as an admin for Denver Arts, so that's why there's already some items here. If you're just doing this for the first time, you might see a blank page here and no list here. And then you can begin to actually add items from your computer. So the way you would do that is click Upload, this sort of middle button here. Then you'll click Select, and that will give you the opportunity to select an item from your computer. Now you can add up to 5 items at a time before sort of uploading. So let's say we want to add a couple things. You can see multiple thumbnails start to populate here, and then I can upload up to 5 at a time. So I'll go ahead and click Upload, and then I'll see that my files uploaded successfully, and now they're added to the bottom of my list. At this point, you can go ahead and select the item you want to include in the text field in which you're working, or you can take this opportunity to start to organize some of these items. So maybe you want to create a folder that's just for navigation page images. We'll create that folder. You'll see it populate here, and you can drag in any of the items that you only want to find when you're working on your navigation pages. Same thing if you want to make a folder for your application documents or any other item that you want to organize. So now that we've organized, we want to actually select the item that we're going to throw into our navigation page. So I'm going to click on that folder. I'm going to see those items that I've uploaded. I'm going to click on the item I want to add to my text field, and I'm going to click Select. And then you'll see that it sort of populates in your preview. But I want this to show up quite a bit smaller. So I'm going to make this about 1/10 of the size, and now you'll see it's going to show up just like that, less justified at the beginning of my text because that's where my cursor was when I went to add this image. I can do a couple of things while I'm throwing this image in here. I can add a border. I can add some padding. And you'll see as I start to add numbers here that I get a little bit of padding here. Same thing would apply if I started to add a border amount. And let's say that rather than show up on the left, I actually want this to show up on the right of my text. So I'm going to click OK, and now I can see that this is showing up over here. A second way I can add an image is by linking to something that already exists on the internet. So I'll put my cursor where I want my image, I'll click my image icon again, then rather than clicking the Browse Server button, I'm going to look for a URL of an image I want to include. So I've already found this little image just by doing a Google search, and then I've clicked View Image so that I'm taken to a page with only that image. I'm going to copy that URL, and then I'm going to throw it into this URL bar. Again, once I click anywhere else on the page, I'll see that that's the image that's going to show up. And this is also a little bit larger than I'd like, so I'm going to make it about 1/3 of the size, and then I'll get a good preview of where it's going to show up. Again, I want to give this a little bit of padding, but I want to keep this on the left side so we're ready to go. So I click OK, and now I see my image right where my cursor was. The next tool is adding a table. And do remember that when you're adding a table as an admin, this is not an opportunity to collect data from your applicant. This is purely informational, purely one way. This is only valuable if you want to create a table to offer information in a really organized manner via an informational via your informational instructional field or via a page like a navigation page or your home page. So it's going to default, right when I click that table, it's going to default to a 3x2, about 500, which is about half the width that we're looking at right now, and no headers. You can, of course, add rows and columns. You can make it wider. I don't recommend going more than about 700 so that whatever your applicant is viewing in, it doesn't bleed off the page. You can include headers, either as a row or a column or both, and this will just automatically bold whatever you put in that first row or first column. You can also add a border. Cell spacing and cell padding is not going to appear to your applicant, so I would recommend skipping these two fields. And then again, just like with the images, you can justify either left, center, or right. Let's go ahead and center it. And then we can give that table a title by typing something in our caption area. Once you click OK, you'll see the table appear in your field, and then you can add additional language within your table. And then you'll note, too, as you add that language, it's going to move your table around, but once you're done typing everything, all of your cells are going to sort of fall back into the settings that you gave them when you created the table. And again, remember, this is just language that you want your applicant to view. So a table is only going to be valuable if you want to be able to separate your language, kind of the way we're showing here. If you are X, please view Y. Maybe the next cell that you could even add on from here would say, if you are Z, please do A. And if you're working on a table, you can always return to it or work on the, or change the settings by right-clicking on it and then clicking your table properties. And that'll take you right back to your properties where you can change the rows or columns, change the settings. If you right-click on the table, you can also add a row or a column straight from here. And then you see you can also delete the table from here. The same thing applies to your images and your links. If you've already included something and you need to return and edit your settings, you can just right-click on that image, click on Image Properties, and again, that will take you back to your Image Properties window. All right, the final main tool is our Links tool, and we can do several things with this. As you'd imagine, you can, of course, easily link to a website by selecting the item you want to create the link in, clicking that link icon, leaving this as URL, which it's going to default to, and then adding your website. A second thing you can link to is an item in your repository or your server. So let's say you've created a comprehensive spreadsheet and you want to make that available to your applicants. You can type something like, please download this spreadsheet, fill it out, and upload below. And then we can make it available via that spreadsheet word. So we're going to highlight the word spreadsheet, we're going to click link, and then rather than using this tool here, we're going to click browse server. Again, we'll be taken to our repository where you can either upload at that time or you can select something that's already been uploaded. We're going to go to our application documents and select this item. We'll click select, OK. Now, when the applicant clicks this link, it's going to automatically download that item, and they will have access to it on their computer. These links automatically default to open a new window, and this is a fail-safe so that when your applicants are inside an application and they click a link, they are not leaving their application. They'll just get a new window. The only time you might not want this to happen is when you're creating a table of contents. And in that case, you're going to change the target so that the link stays in the same page. So let's look at what that might look like. If you want to create a table of contents, the first thing you need to do is create some bookmarks. So let's say that this is our first area where our table of contents should land. We're going to put our cursor there, we're going to click the anchor, and we'll give the anchor a name. And it can be whatever you want. This is going to generate a list that you choose from when you create your table of contents, so just make sure that the anchor name is something that makes sense to you. We'll create our second anchor. And you can continue on down the page adding anchors wherever you need. But then let's say we want to go up to the top and create our table of contents. So I'm going to place my cursor where I want to start the contents, and I'm going to call it point 1, point 2, so on. And let's say I want to make this a little bit more obvious of a list. So I'm going to give it a numbered list or maybe a bulleted list. And you'll see right away that clicking either of those will change it automatically, and you can go back and forth between the two. I think let's stay with numbers. So now I'm ready to make this point 1 take us right to that point 1 anchor. So I'm going to highlight point 1. I'm going to click my link icon. I'm going to change the target first, because again, remember, if I keep it as defaulted, it's going to take me to a new window, but I want this to just take me down the page, so I'm going to change it to same window. Then I'm going to click link info. Rather than URL, we're going to link to an anchor in the text, and then I'm going to choose one of my anchors that I've already created. I'm going to repeat the process for point 2. And now I've begun creating my table of contents such that when my applicant clicks on point 1, it will take them right down to my first anchor, and so on. Now the final functionality you can create with the link tool is to create an opportunity for your applicants to email directly. So let's say at the end of this, you want to say, if you have any questions, please contact us. You're going to highlight Contact Us, click your link icon. You'll change your link type to email, and at this point you can enter your email address or the email for the admin who should receive this message. You can also create a default subject and body, so maybe it's going to be, I need help. And then maybe in the body of the message, you want to even add further default language like, tell us how we can help you. Then when your applicant clicks on that Contact Us link, their email server will automatically open with the beginnings of this email for you. All right. We'll go ahead and update here and then refresh on our applicant side and take a look at all of the formatting that we've created. So one of the first things we can look at is our table of contents. I'm going to click on point 1 and you'll see it takes me right to point 1. If I go back up and I click point 2, it's going to take me down here. Now because my page is so deep, it's going to just take me to the end of the page, but if I could only see a couple paragraphs at a time, it would take me such that my anchor would be the top thing on the page. You can also see some of the images we've added. You can, of course, see our table with our table title. You can see the link that we added that downloads an item, and you'll see right away when I click that, something is downloaded to my machine. And then lastly, when I click Contact Us, it opens my email browser. Now I'm on a conference room computer, so I don't have my email set up, but it's going to open whatever email browser I have set up on my computer, and then will automatically include that subject and that body that I created, and then we'll give the applicant the opportunity to continue to fill out the body and then email you directly. And then one other link item that we did not look at was linking to a new website. And that is the main functionality of the CKEditor. Just a couple of things to note. Every CKEditor box will display your tools as we just reviewed them, as well as the allowable character count. Most of these fields will not have a character limit, but if they do, you'll note that in the bottom right, and you'll see that the number progresses as you add characters to that field. You'll also note that bold is not an option on questions because they are bolded by default. So where bold is not available, but you need to differentiate, we would suggest increasing the size or changing the color of that text. You may have noticed that any place where you created HTML in the past that now has a CKEditor bar was automatically converted to real-time formatting. So all of that HTML is no longer visible, and you can just see the formatting as it exists. There are a couple of places where the HTML will still be acceptable, and that is on text fields that do not include the CKEditor icons. Think of your server as your repository or your portfolio that's just private for your agency, so you can always upload images and files there that you may need at any time throughout the life of your GoSmart site. You can, of course, add additional things at any time and remove things as well. And then lastly, note that any formatting you create with the CKEditor will only appear on screen while your applicant is going through the application. All of that formatting will not appear in the PDF. The PDF takes all of that language and converts it such that questions are bolded, responses from your applicants are not, and that's the only formatting that's going to appear in your PDF. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at jessica.bronick@weststaff.org or check out our knowledge base at gosmart.org/knowledge_base. Thank you.